Your town could see 15 centimeters of snow in the next 72 hours. But here is what nobody is telling you about next week's weather pattern that could change everything. Right now, across the United Kingdom, we are watching one of the most complex weather setups of the entire winter. Multiple storm systems, marginal snow events, and a temperature battle that will decide whether you wake up to rain or a complete whiteout. In the next 15 minutes, you will know exactly when the precipitation hits your area, when temperatures drop, and the one critical day next week that could bring surprise snowfall even to low-lying areas. But first, the immediate 72 hours. Because what is happening right now across northern England and Scotland is just the beginning. At this very moment, heavy rain is hammering parts of Wales and southwest England. We are talking 20 to 30 millimeters in some areas, with isolated spots seeing 40 to 50 millimeters. Now, that might not sound extreme, but here is the problem. The ground is absolutely saturated. Every river, every stream, every drainage system is already at capacity. Northern Ireland is getting pounded as well, with localised flooding already reported in multiple areas. And here is your first critical timeline. If you live in Wales or southwest England, this heavy rain continues through until 9 post-meridium tomorrow, Friday. That is another 24 hours of persistent rainfall on already waterlogged ground. But the real story tonight is what is happening further north. Right now, as I speak, snow is falling across the Pennines. Snow is falling across the Peak District. We are seeing accumulations at elevations above 250 to 300 meters. But listen to this. Above 500 meters, we could see 5 to 15 centimeters by tomorrow morning. The snow warning remains in effect for approximately the next 5 to 6 hours. But here is the twist. Another major precipitation band is moving in, and that could extend the wintry conditions into mid-morning Friday. So when does this snow turn to rain? That is the question everyone in northern England is asking right now. The answer is complex, and I will break it down city by city in just a moment. But first, you need to understand the temperature battle happening across the United Kingdom tonight. Look at the temperature split. Southern areas, 10 to 11 degrees Celsius. Parts of northern England and Scotland close to freezing. That is a massive gradient, and that boundary is where all the action is happening. Cold air is being fed in from the east, colliding with milder Atlantic air pushing up from the south. And that collision zone is producing our snow. Now, here is what happens through Friday. That milder air wins. It pushes northward. By Friday afternoon, even northern England sees temperatures climbing to 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. Scotland, you are looking at 5 to 8 degrees in most areas. The far north of Scotland stays coldest, but even there, we are not talking about the bitter cold we saw earlier in January. But wait. Why should you care about this temperature rise? Because it is temporary. And what happens next week could catch millions of people completely off guard. I will reveal the exact timeline at the 5-minute mark, but first, let me tell you exactly what to expect in your area over the next 48 hours. Manchester. Tonight through Friday morning, rain possibly mixing with sleet on the higher ground to the east. Temperatures tonight 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. By Friday afternoon, climbing to 9 to 10 degrees. Expect heavy rain at times, with localised flooding possible in already saturated areas. Leeds and Sheffield, this is your snow zone tonight. Above 300 metres, we are seeing snow accumulating now, 2 to 5 centimetres likely through the night. By Friday morning, this transitions to rain as temperatures rise, but expect a slushy, messy commute if you are on the higher routes. Lower elevations see mostly rain, but brief sleet is possible before dawn. Birmingham and the Midlands. Rain, heavy at times, 20 to 30 millimeters through Friday. Temperatures tonight 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. Friday reaching 10 to 11 degrees. The ground is saturated, so watch for standing water on roads and localized flooding in usual trouble spots, London and the southeast. You get off relatively lightly in the next 24 hours. Showers? Yes. Some heavy bursts? Yes. But not the relentless rain we are seeing further west and north. Temperatures tonight 7 to 8 degrees Celsius. Friday 12 to 13 degrees, almost mild for February, but enjoy it while it lasts, because next week tells a very different story. Cardiff and South Wales, you are in the bullseye for heavy rain. The warning continues until 9 post-meridium Friday. We are talking persistent heavy rainfall. Already some areas have seen 30 millimeters, and you could see another 20 to 30 by Friday evening. Rivers are rising. Flood warnings are in effect. This is serious. Temperatures tonight, 6 to 7 degrees Celsius. Friday, 10 to 11 degrees. Bristol and southwest England, same situation as Wales. Relentless rain, localized flooding already occurring. This continues through Friday. Temperatures tonight 7 to 8 degrees Celsius, Friday 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. But the bigger concern is not temperature, it is rainfall totals and where that water is going to go. Liverpool and northwest England. Heavy rain tonight and Friday, some sleet possible on higher ground inland, but mostly rain at lower elevations. Temperatures tonight 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, Friday 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. Expect travel disruption due to surface water and localized flooding, Newcastle and northeast England. You are on the edge of the snow zone. Coastal areas, mostly rain. Inland, especially over the Pennines, snow accumulating above 250 meters. Temperatures tonight, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius at the coast, below freezing on higher ground. Friday, temperatures rise to 7 to 8 degrees Celsius, and any remaining snow transitions to rain. Glasgow and central Scotland, rain and sleet mix with snow over higher ground. The Highlands see accumulating snow, but lowlands mostly rain and sleet. Temperatures tonight, 1 to 3 degrees Celsius. Friday, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. Eastern areas see the most persistent precipitation as that easterly wind continues to feed moisture in. Edinburgh and eastern Scotland. Similar to Newcastle, you are in a transitional zone. Coastal areas, rain. Inland and higher ground, snow. Temperatures tonight, 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. Friday, 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. That easterly wind makes it feel colder than the actual temperature. Aberdeen and northeast Scotland, you are in for a soggy time. That easterly wind is driving rain and sleet onshore relentlessly. Higher ground inland sees snow, but coastal areas stay mostly rain due to the marine influence. Temperatures tonight, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. Friday, 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. Expect very poor visibility in the heavy precipitation. Inverness and the Highlands. Snow, especially on higher ground. Accumulations of 5 to 10 centimeters possible above 400 meters. Lower elevations see rain and sleet mix. Temperatures tonight, 0 to 2 degrees Celsius. Friday, 4 to 6 degrees Celsius. The far northwest sees the driest conditions, relatively speaking, with some brighter spells possible. Belfast and Northern Ireland, heavy rain tonight and into Friday. The warning is in effect until midnight Friday. 10 to 20 millimeters widely with 30 to 40 in some areas. The ground is saturated. Flooding is likely in multiple locations. Temperatures tonight, 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. Friday, 8 to 9 degrees Celsius. Now, that brings us to Saturday. And this is where the pattern starts to shift. Saturday actually looks slightly drier for some areas. Northern Ireland, parts of northern England, especially down the eastern side, you get a bit of a break. Not bone dry, but not the relentless rain of Thursday and Friday. But, and this is important, southwest England, you are not off the hook. More heavy rain moves in Saturday morning. And because the ground is so saturated, we are expecting further flooding issues. This is not a light shower situation. This is another significant rainfall event. Scotland, Saturday brings more rain from the east. Aberdeen, you are looking at another soggy day. Some of that rain spreads to western areas as well. Temperatures on Saturday range from 5 to 8 degrees Celsius in the north, 10 to 13 degrees Celsius in the south. But those strong, blustery winds, especially in the southwest and northeast, will make it feel several degrees colder. Sunday, more rain, not a great amount of sunshine anywhere. Maybe a few brief bright spells here and there, but overall, cloudy and wet. The unsettled pattern continues. And now here is what I promised. The forecast for next week that changes everything. Monday and Tuesday, more rain bands move through. It looks pretty horrible, frankly. But then late Tuesday into Wednesday, something shifts. The models are showing a potential for much colder air to dig in from the north and northeast. We are talking about a proper northerly wind developing by the middle of next week. Now, this is not a beast from the east. This is not the bitter cold we saw in early January. But it is cold enough to bring snow back into the picture. And here is the critical detail. This is not just a northern Scotland event. Multiple computer models are suggesting marginal snow events that could affect Midlands, northern England, and possibly even further south. What does marginal mean? It means we are right on the edge, rain, sleet, or snow. It depends on exact temperatures, which way the wind blows, how the low pressure systems position themselves. But the potential is there for some significant snowfall in the 7 to 9 day time frame. Here is the timeline as the models currently show it. Late Tuesday, the 10th of February into Wednesday, the 11th, colder air starts arriving from the north. By Thursday, the 12th, and Friday, the 13th, we could see multiple areas dealing with wintry precipitation. This is the critical window. Temperatures during this period could drop to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius in southern areas, close to freezing or below in northern areas. And with active weather systems moving through, any precipitation could fall as snow, especially over higher ground, but potentially at lower elevations as well during the coldest periods. The ensemble forecasts, which run the models multiple times with slight variations, are showing increasing agreement on this colder pattern. Not every run produces heavy snow. Some runs keep it mostly rain, but many runs are showing snow events and some are showing considerable accumulations, particularly for northern hills. Now, will London see snow? Possibly. Will Birmingham see snow? Possibly. Will Manchester see snow? More likely. The further north and the higher elevation you are, the better your chances. But this is a very dynamic situation. And small changes in the storm track or the positioning of that cold air could make huge differences in who sees what. Here is what makes this different from what we have seen so far this winter. Up until now, we have had cold air, yes. We have had some snow, yes. But it has been fairly typical for northern hills in February. What we are potentially looking at next week is a more significant clash between very cold air from the north and very active Atlantic weather systems. That combination can produce surprisingly heavy snowfall in unexpected places. The last time we saw a proper battle like this was earlier in January, when parts of the Midlands saw heavy snowfall, while areas just a few tens of miles away saw nothing but rain. That is the kind of scenario we could see again. But, and this is crucial, this is not a prolonged cold spell. The current forecast suggests this colder pattern lasts maybe 4 to 6 days, from around the 12th to the 16th or 17th of February. After that, milder air looks to return, and we go back to a more typical unsettled mild pattern for mid-February. So temperatures will oscillate. You could see 2 degrees Celsius one day, 10 degrees Celsius 2 days later. In those transitions, we get heavy precipitation, and depending on the temperature, that could be heavy rain or heavy snow. For northern areas, particularly the Scottish Highlands, the Pennines, the Peak District, there could be significant snow accumulations during this period. We are talking potentially 10 to 20 centimetres or more on the highest routes. For low-lying areas, it is much more uncertain, but the potential exists. What should you do to prepare? First, stay updated. Weather forecasts for this 7 to 10 day period are going to change. Check daily. Second, if you live in northern or elevated areas, make sure you have supplies at home in case travel becomes difficult. Third, if you have travel plans for the 12th to the 14th of February, monitor the forecast closely. Conditions could change rapidly. Now, why am I telling you all this when there is still uncertainty? Because this is the kind of pattern where people get caught off guard. They see mild weather this weekend, they assume winter is over, and then suddenly next week they are dealing with snow and ice. I want you to be prepared, not panicked. The models have been hinting at this for several days now, and today they have shifted more confidently toward this scenario. It is not guaranteed, but it is likely enough that you should be aware and prepared. One more thing. The ground is saturated right now. If we do get a period of freezing temperatures next week after all this rain, we could see significant ice issues as well. Frozen puddles, black ice on roads, frozen ground that creates drainage problems. So even if you do not see snow, the cold snap itself could create hazards. Here's my advice. This weekend, if you need to do outdoor tasks, get them done. If you need to travel for essential reasons next week, plan for delays and disruptions. If you have vulnerable neighbors or relatives, check in on them, make sure they have heating, food, and supplies, and please drop a comment below telling me where you are watching from. Are you in Manchester, London, Scotland, Wales? I want to know which areas are most concerned about this forecast so I can provide targeted updates over the next few days. This is shaping up to be one of the most interesting weather patterns of the winter. Not the coldest, not the snowiest overall, but potentially one of the most disruptive because of the marginal nature and the rapid changes. So, to recap your timeline, tonight through Friday, heavy rain for most areas, snow over northern hills transitioning to rain. Saturday, a brief break for some areas, continued rain in the southwest. Sunday and Monday, more unsettled wet weather. Then Tuesday into next week, a potential shift to much colder conditions with the risk of snow for many areas, most likely Wednesday through Friday of next week. Keep your eye on the forecast. Things will become clearer over the weekend as we get into the more reliable time frame for the models. But right now, all signs point to a significant pattern change next week. And here is your teaser for the next update. By Sunday, I will have much more specific details on that potential cold snap, exact timings, updated snow risk maps, and city-by-city forecasts for the critical period. You will not want to miss that because if this forecast verifies, next week could bring the most significant wintry weather event of February. Until then, stay safe in the wet weather, drive carefully, and remember weather is always changing, but being prepared never goes out of style. Check back Sunday for the critical next week forecast.